When I was younger, one of my favourite programmes was a cowboy series called Alias Smith and Jones. And I remember one particular episode, and it was called Smiler with a Gun. And it was all smiles until he tried to shoot them. Now, over the years, again, through business, I've come across many people who smile in your face while they're trying to do you harm, while they're trying to rip you off, screw you, whatever term you want to use. And on Twitter, I didn't follow her, but her post kept showing up in my timeline. And one particular post, well, there's a couple of posts that bothered me really. Obviously, she was pro-EV, and one of the posts was about somebody had reported that women were bothered with the weight of the EV cables. So she'd put a post up of a daughter plugging her EV in, but obviously she was completely ignoring the fact that that wasn't the cable they were talking about. They're talking about the cables at these fast chargers. I mean, to be honest, I went a few weeks ago to the fast charger. It was absolutely lashing down. The fast charger is in the corner of the car park, not covered. There were trees over it, which made it even worse because you're getting dripped on. The cable is yay big and quite difficult to sort of maneuver. Even for me, you know, it wasn't easy. So I can imagine young ladies, older guys would struggle. So that is just stupid, showing a picture of a kid doing that. So, you know, immediately went down in my estimation. And I have a Twitter account, and mostly, you know, like everybody else, it's like, I mean, or it was, dog pictures, flipping pictures of your food, pictures of where you've been on holiday. But you go through this lady's Twitter feed and it's just constant EV propaganda all the time. But one post which I saw really kind of incensed me, because I think it had something like 12,000 views, or 12,400 views it's had. Lady smiling. Free holidays, an unintended consequence of having an electric car. How so? One of these emojis. It's very simple. I've saved thousands of pounds since switching to an EV, and this effectively pays for our summer getaways. Well, it doesn't. You know, it just doesn't, and that's completely false information, because when I worked out what her car had actually cost her and pointed it out to her, first of all, I tried to be nice. I don't like upsetting ladies. I don't like insulting them. I don't like to come across wrong. However, I probably managed to do all of them in this tweet. So for that, I apologise before you get on my case. I'm so sorry, you have a lovely smile, but that is just not true. And you are deliberately misleading people to push your EV agenda. Your Kia Niro costs new £37,345. Today it has a trade value of £16,400. It's lost an eye-watering £20,945, or 56%. Whereas a Kia Niro 1.6 GDI, same year, same spec, same miles, but petrol hybrid, cost new £28,785. Today its trade value is £18,800, so your EV cost £8,560 more and is now worth £2,400 less. That's £10,960 difference. Even if your electric is free, you could buy 1,461 gallons of petrol, and I'm guessing your car has done about 27,000 miles. So at 60 miles per gallon, it would cost £3,069 to buy 450 gallons, and the owner of the petrol car would still have £7,891 to take his family on holiday without being any worse off than you being sat at home looking out your window at your heavily depreciating EV. I'm sorry, no free lunches or holidays for people with EVs. By the way, it doesn't stop there. as EVs have been artificially propped up by the valuation services. Still are. We buy any car, value it at £13,790, so that would be another £2,610 less, or another holiday that you didn't get for free. Now, at the bottom of that, I put, hope that helps. And the reason I put hope that helps was because she, real snotty, replied to somebody else, kind of insinuating that they were stupid, and put hope that helps. So, couldn't resist it, put that at the bottom. Anyway, next I get a tweet off somebody called Pam Finkelstein. EV agenda, and like a laughing emoji. All right, fair enough. So they're implying she's not got an EV agenda. You Google her name, it's just EV, fully charged show, green something else, electrics that she's in charge of, and another thing she's... So, yes, she's got an EV agenda. But on Google, it's just even more. Then when you actually go, somebody else sent me this, a LinkedIn profile. I'm not going to read it, I'll just put it on the screen. But it's obvious she has got an EV agenda. It's obvious just looking at her tweets. And I really despise people who will advise others to buy something just to push their agenda. So anyway, after I pointed this out to her, she replied. And the reply, my post refers to savings accrued from charging versus filling up with fuel. I make no mention of purchase costs. I think it's good that the used EV market is buoyant. Great bargains to be had, with many EVs at price parity with ICE and selling faster, according to Auto Trader UK. Well, first of all, let me tell you, I never took into account any electric when I calculated that. So I was just pretending that her electric was free. No cost whatsoever. No electric was in that calculation. And yet the ICE car still came off way better. Absolutely thousands and thousands of pounds better. I make no mention of purchase costs. Well, of course you wouldn't. Because if you did, people would see that your story is just complete and utter trash. It's just a lie. It's just an excuse to get EVs in the news again, or, I mean, this was a column written for somebody else. I don't know who it was. To be honest, I can't be bothered even looking. Let's address the next thing. I think it's good that the used EV market is buoyant. Well, it's not buoyant, it's tanking. It's absolutely tanking. So, great bargains to be had, with many EVs at price parity with ICE and selling faster. Now, I've given her an example of how her car cost way more than an ICE car and is now worth way less. How many people, if that continues, how many people do you think will keep buying a new EV to lose all that money when they could have bought an ICE? These people are buying EVs to save money. Don't for 1 second let them convince you that they're doing it to save the planet, because they're just not. They're doing it because they're tight as a fish's arse. They want to save money. There is a convenience factor. If you can charge at home, they are brilliant. No arguments, fantastic. Dead cheap. But that doesn't stop the actual car depreciating. You just charge it cheap. The car's still dropping. Many EVs at price parity. Well, no, I've just showed her. It's less. It's not price parity, it's less. It costs more, and it's now worth £2,000 less. And selling faster. Well, according to Auto Trader, no, they weren't. And one of the other EV shills had put this out. And at the time they put it out, EVs were actually the slowest selling fuel. So I replied to her, you are misinformed there too. Don't believe everything you read in the little book of EV myths, because most of it is rubbish. And I'm sorry, but you lot just cherry pick and retreat to the old cheap to charge line, when the truth is they cost more to run, a lot more. And then I put, rubbing it in, again, hope that helps. Now, I added something off Auto Trader, which was the current figures. Used electric vehicles are now the slowest selling of any fuel type, with hybrids now the fastest selling of any fuel type, taking 23 days on average to sell. So again, she's put out that they're selling faster. They weren't. Another lie. You know, I mean, I know we see politicians these days, and that kind of behaviour is acceptable. It's acceptable to politicians and it's acceptable to EV shows. If I tell a customer something that turns out to be not true, it's a verbal contract and they can bring the car back to me. We have to be very, very careful what we say. And if somebody asks me a question, if I'm not 100% sure, I always try to research it and make sure before I say anything, because otherwise you can get in trouble. Anyway, in the interest of fairness, I'll just read you out a couple. These people are also EV sycophants, so I mean, I don't take any, you know, it doesn't upset me anyway, but I just think they're idiots. So Earth 2075. Fortunately, I hadn't come across your profile before. Barry, what a patronising and condescending man you are. You give men a bad name. Keep doing what you're doing, Jill. And then like a more power to your elbow sign. So keep doing what you're doing, Jill. Keep lying. Keep bending the truth, because this guy's got an EV and he doesn't want to know the truth. He doesn't want to know that his car's depreciated and he'd have been better off buying a nice car. At that moment in time, still today, this moment, I give men a bad name. I probably do, because these days, I'm the type that still opens doors. I'll get up off a bus. And it's quite funny, I was going in Marks and Spencer's a few weeks ago, and there was a young lady behind me, and I held the door open for her, and she said, "I'm not helpless." I thought, okay. You know, that was drummed into me when I was a kid. You walk in with a lady, you walk on the outside of the road. If anybody gets knocked down, it's you. That's me. I don't like condescending people. I don't like sarcastic people. And I didn't like her attitude in answers to other people. I don't like the fact that there's always a picture of her smiling, always going on about EVs. It's a forced smile. You know, it's just a forced smile. What can I say? It's false. You know, it's so the whole thing to me. I look at that and I think, what a false person. Then I read her tweets and I think, yep, she's a false person. I don't know. She might be really nice. I really don't know. But nice people don't smile at you while they're giving you false information, which could cost you a lot of money. Then I've got another guy here, Simon Hudson. He's been niggling at me for ages. Jill, it's easier not to engage with some people. They have nothing to offer, don't have the strength of character to do anything positive in the world, and compensate by criticising those that do. Best to treat them as irrelevant, in my humble opinion. And then he's got a picture of Einstein. Well, I'm thinking it's Einstein. I could be wrong. Oh, sorry, no, it's Mark Twain. Well, Mark Twain and Albert Einstein, they look the same to me. Never argue with stupid people. They will drag you down to their level and then beat you with experience. And then underneath it's got Mark Twain. Fair enough, you know, if somebody insulted somebody I'd like I said before, the chivalrous side of me would come out and I'd be straight on defending them. So perhaps Simon's not all that bad. But since then he follows me and just tweets rubbish, really. So that's it. Those were the kind of replies, and those were There was loads of others on, you know, kind of on my side or agreeing with me, but there was a couple like that. The unintended consequences of stocking EVs for the trade. I sent a few examples, and honestly, for the trade, it's been horrendous. It really, really has. It's been torrid for some people. The early adopters that stocked EVs, some of them got caught out in a massive way. And I've looked at a few, and there's like £7,000 and £8,000 pounds off 20 or 30 cars. You don't make £7,000 or £8,000 on cars. So that was coming straight out of the profit, straight out of the bottom line. In one of my other videos, somebody suggested I should go on this guy who sells EVs YouTube and discuss things with him. Now, this guy, I might have mentioned it in another video, this guy suggested at one point that he couldn't get enough cars, enough EVs, and I asked him how many he wanted and to get his checkbook ready, and he blocked me. So it's the same guy. Anyway, I went on his website to check how he's doing now. It looks to me like, and honestly, I really, really don't want to see anybody doing bad. I want EVs to sell. I want the prices to come up, because if that happens, EVs will sell just like an ordinary car, and the dealers won't have to stuff people into them, which is what they're doing, create buyer's remorse, tuck people up with cars that aren't suitable, and then they sell them in a couple of weeks, couple of months, whatever, and lose a fortune. I don't want to see that. It's bad news all round. And the other thing is, if anybody comes in here with an EV, I don't want to take it in. Well, I want to be able to take it in. Whatever car comes on the forecourt, I want to be able to take it in. I don't want to discriminate against people with EVs. If you do that, then all your prices are affected. So, let me just see if I can find these. I mean, I'm just looking here. Unintended, her car's a Kia Niro. Remind me to put her MOT in, and I'll just go back to the people who buy these aren't buying them to save the planet. They might think so. That's the line they go back to. When you point out that they've lost thousands and thousands of pounds, they say, well, money doesn't worry me, I'm trying to save the planet. Well, also, you're trying to save the planet, but your EV is dirtier than an ICE car till it's done 23,500 miles, which is kind of generally accepted. It's probably a lot more. So you're trying to save the planet. You've bought an EV, you've done 2,000 miles in it, so you actually owe us clean air. You've taken clean air from the past, and you're going to pay it back, what, in 10 years? Yeah, well, thanks very much. I've got a cough now, you know. And it's down to you. So you're not saving the planet either. So here we go. Unintended consequences of owning a Kia Niro. You find out this sucks, so you sell it and lose a fortune. Then you can't afford to go on holiday. Two previous owners. 4 months and 27 days. Then 5 months and 22 days. Do you think they bought that car intending to swap it in after that? They swapped it because they were going straight back to an ICE car. There's no other logical explanation. That Kia Niro didn't suit their needs. It'd suit my needs, it'd be fine. It'd be great for me. It didn't suit their needs. So they've lost a fortune, probably can't go on holiday. Let's put it that way. So the unintended consequences of these people buying this Kia Niro, two of them, was that they couldn't go on holiday. You know, right? There's one here. The second owner, 6 days. The third owner, 28 days. The fourth owner, 4 months and 10 days. Do you think those people went and bought another EV, or do you think they thought, oh, I've had enough of this already? Here you go. This EV will have had 5 owners in less than 6 months. But yeah, used EV sales are up. Of course they are. This is my tweet, by the way. And then I don't exactly swear, but I'll put FFS. I really do despair. Used EV sales up. This one alone would send the percentage of used EVs sold through the roof. I guess it's the unintended consequences of buying an EV which people lied to you about and doesn't suit your effing needs. So you sell it and bitch about it to all your mates, and then they don't buy one either. These EV shills have a lot to answer for. So 5 owners in less than 6 months. We go across to, right, another tweet. So why do I hate the shills? It's because in order for them to make a wage, they're prepared to lie, misrepresent, ignore facts, and make up shit about unintended consequences. This is deliberate, make no mistake. It's coordinated, and they're causing people to lose thousands and thousands of pounds. Scum, I'm afraid, absolute scum. The first thing I learned in the motor trade was a deal is a mutually beneficial agreement between 2 or more parties. Not to tuck as many gullible idiots up as you can by lying. Unintended consequences of buying an EV. There's 4 examples here. I've listed 4 examples, all private sellers. That one, they've knocked £10,000 off, or 20%. The next one, 14,000, 30%. And these are private sellers reducing it. Next one, 9,010, 18%. These are all Teslas. 14,000. So they've all knocked that off the cars. Did they foresee that coming when they bought it? Or did they think it was cheap to charge and they'd save a load of money? Not to do it to death, but the unintended consequences of stocking, this is another tweet, Kia Niro EVs. Go on, move on. No free holidays to be seen here. You must be looking for cloud cuckoo land where the EV shills live. Free holidays, absolute tripe. So I've listed here 4 dealers who are selling these Kia Niros. One, in 4 months they've dropped it £7,500, 20%. Another one, £3,200, £3,300, £7,500, £3,700, £3,200, £3,800, £4,000, £4,000, £6,200. Those are all garages. They will not have that amount of money in those cars. They have blown their brains out. That's an unintended consequence, because believe me, when those people bought those cars, they didn't see a consequence of losing all that money. So that is an actual unintended consequence. Perhaps they'd seen Jill's video and thought, oh, a free holiday, I like that. You know, it's just, here we go, unintended consequences of having 72 of these Kia Niro EVs in stock. This is the real world EV shills. This is ruining the motor trade. Now, it's Arnold Clark. Arnold Clark's the most profitable dealer ever and can afford to lose a fortune. But the sales manager who loses a fortune will be on his bike, you know, unless it's a central purchaser. And these all look like they might have been, you know, bought for leasing companies. I don't know. So I think Arnie can stand a few losses and reductions, but hemorrhaging money like this to most other garages would shut them down. It would shut us down in no time. This is a hobby for us now, not a business. And for Quentin Wilson to call people nut jobs is just a joke. Well, Quentin again, calling people nut jobs for calling out, you know, EV problems, and I think he said, "Don't give them oxygen." Guy who drives around on bald tyres, saying that other people are nut jobs. Yeah, you know, Quentin, no. Another tweet. Remember the lovely lady with the beautiful smile who wrote the article about getting free holiday due to the unintended consequences of running an EV? Well, no wonder she was smiling. I couldn't keep my face straight if I was telling a whopper like that. Go and ask this dealer who has had his 1,300 mile Kia Niro in stock for 756 days what the unintended consequences of having that pile of EV shit on his forecourt for over 2 years are. Because that average cost of stocking and advertising used to be £7 a day. That amounts to £5,292, and it's been reduced by £4,940 too. So he could have gone to Sandy Lane, that's lovely resort in Barbados, if you don't know. Then when you take into account that he could have had that money in a nice vehicle, turned it over and made a profit every 29 days, that was the average they were selling at the time. Say he made a profit of £1,000 each time, then he's lost out on another 25 grand. That's the real unintended consequences of having a car in stock that you can't sell. Now, I'll go to her. She's very, very careful not to show a number plate on any of the cars. However, using a little bit of detective work, I came up with a registration number, which I'm pretty sure is hers. And, you know, I really do despair. The other thing they go on about, they don't need servicing. So EVs don't need servicing. Quentin Wilson telling everybody that EV tyres will do 40,000 miles, or implying they do. And the other people, they've got low MU tyres, low coefficient of friction tyres. That just means to me that A, when your brakes get corroded, and they do eventually stop, your low coefficient of friction tyres won't stop you as quick as the tyres on a nice car, and you're going straight to the scene of an accident. Everything they say just seems to me to be, you know, it seems to me to be illogical. It seems to me that how could you draw that conclusion from those facts? It's just unreal. But anyway, here. So tyres last 40,000 miles. First MOT, rear tyre wore close to legal limit. One on edge, both on 2.5 millimetres. Then the next MOT at 28,997 miles. Near side front tyre has a tear caused by separation or partial failure of its structure. Offside front tyre worn close to legal limit. Near side rear tyre worn close to legal limit. Offside rear tyre worn close to legal limit. So she's had 2 tyres done and left 2 for the pass of the MOT. Near side rear tyre worn close to legal limit. Offside rear tyre worn close to legal limit. So she's still got 2 tyres that, you know, we don't sell car. When we sell a car, we don't send them out with advisories. So we'd have had those done. She's driving around on them. She's got little kids. And it's always the same. Virtually whenever you see an EV with that's got reported on the MOT child seats, you can virtually guarantee it's got bull tyres on it. They're saving the planet for the future, for when the kids grow up. But right now, they'll drive around on a car with ply cords sticking out the tyres, with the kids in the kiddie seats in the back. I mean, I just don't get it. I really, really don't get it. I mean, I'll close again with, I am not an EV hater, but there are a lot of people who it just seems like the disciples, it seems like a religion. And most of the problems in this world are caused by religion, in my opinion. And there's always 2 sides, you know, Brexit and Remainers, and they're like at each other's throat. And there's EV people, the real hardened EV people. And then there's people like me, and I am impartial. I really am impartial. But I see the damage that it's doing. I see the costs, and there's just no need for it. You know, we've got a government now telling us what we can do, and the previous government too. They were telling, although they did put it back. You've got this government telling motor traders what to do, when they can't even look after themselves, really. That, you know, they're not fit to be in government, but they're telling motor traders. It's, when I grew up in the motor trade, very, very happy times. I've loved it all the time. And we've had loads of bad times, you know, petrol crisis and stuff, car strikes, manufacturer strikes, transporter driver strikes, and we've battled through it. We've always battled through it. Petrol strikes, where, you know, in the 70s you could buy a Ferrari for virtually nothing. You couldn't get any petrol. You know, you couldn't get any petrol to run it. We've gone through all this, the 2008, the financial crisis, a world global economic crisis. We've gone through all that. And do you know what I think is going to finish the motor trade? EVs. Introducing EVs, because people are too stupid to introduce them properly. People are too stupid to do what we used to do in the old days. If we had a new model coming out, you know, we'd have a barbecue, a cheese and winey. Well, you couldn't have wine anymore, but you did in those days. You know, we'd have a nice do for the E-Class. We had a James Bond night, and it was a great night. It was fantastic. We had loads of people there, and we sold virtually the production of E-Class for about the next 5 years. But we had people going out in them all night. They were driving them, bums on seats. Go out in this, see what you think of it. No, oh, you can have one in 2 years. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Ta-da.